Grüezi in Zurich. On behalf of Zurich City Tours, I'm delighted to welcome you here in Zurich. My name is Sandra and I'm going to show you the best and the most beautiful sights of the city. Let's go! The city of Zurich counts nowadays more than 430,000 inhabitants. In the canton of Zurich live about 1.5 million inhabitants. In the next few minutes, we are going to explore mainly the old town of Zurich. It is situated on the river Limmat, the main river of the city. It flows out of the lake of Zurich. We stay here at Schipfe, and Schipfe is one of the older parts of the city of Zurich. Schipfe, the word, comes from the German word schupfen. This means to push. In former days, the riverboats were pushed here on land and back to water. So this was a landing place for the many riverboats. The Limmat was a main transportation axis between south and north. The old town of Zurich is full of charm. It captivates visitors with its local craft shops and its picturesque medieval alleys. Here we are walking along the former bathhouses. In the Middle Ages, the people went to such bathhouses to wash themselves. This happened about 3 or 4 times in a year. Today, life is fortunately a bit different. In the city of Zurich, there are more than 1,200 fountains, and out of every tube flows best drinking water. 70% of the water comes from the lake, 30% is ground and source water. We are now going uphill. The old town of Zurich is hilly and therefore marked by a continuous up and down. The old town of Zurich is a very attractive and popular residential area. We are up here at the Lindenhof. This square is called like this because of the many linden trees you see here. There are only 2 exceptions, one oak and one chestnut. The city of Zurich was founded 15 before Christ by the Romans. Down by the river, the Romans founded a customs point to control the goods. Zurich was a small Roman town on both sides of the Limmat, and the Roman named it Turicum. Around 300 after Christ, they built a large fortress on what is now the Lindenhof. The Alemanni then built an imperial palace on the same site. It was a palace where the emperor, the king, resided. Later the palace was even enlarged and embellished. In those days, Zurich was considered the most distinguished city in the whole of Swabia. Today, no remains of the old buildings are visible above ground. Instead, it is a spacious square for everyone and a place with a fantastic view. In good weather, like we have today, you can even see parts of the Swiss Alps behind the Grossmünster. Here from the Lindenhof you have a splendid view, especially to the other part of the old town. At the back you see 2 big buildings, the one on the left with the cupola. This is the Federal Institute of Technology with about 20,000 students. Next to it, behind the church tower, you see the university, the headquarters of the university. With about 26,000 students, it's the biggest university of Switzerland. So you see, the city of Zurich is not only a financial center of Switzerland, it's also a student city. We are continuing towards the church St. Peter. Here we are in front of St. Peter. St. Peter is on the one hand the oldest church of Zurich. And on the other hand, it's the church with the largest tower clock face of Europe. 8.7 meters is the diameter of this clock face. The big hand has a length of 4 meters and the small one is 3 meters long. And within 1 minute, the big hand goes 45 centimeters forward. Above the clock face, you see some oriel windows, and up there the fire watchers were. They had an important task to fulfill. They had to watch out of every single window, and in a case of a fire, they held the red flag out of the corresponding window and blew the fire horn. And like this, the fire brigade down here knew at least in what direction they had to run to. Now we are going downhill back to the Limmat. We stay here at the former center of the city of Zurich. Here the whole traffic had to cross the Limmat. This bridge was till to the 19th century the only bridge which allowed a passageway for vehicles. Beside the traffic, the vegetable and fruit market was held on the bridge too. That's why we call this bridge unofficially Vegetable Bridge, but officially it's the Rathausbrücke, the town hall bridge, because of the town hall you see at the back of me. Before we dive into the other side of the old town of Zurich, we cross the Limmatquai. Trams, the streetcars of Zurich, are part of the city's DNA and an important part of public transport. The old town is a charming pedestrian area. In the meantime, we have crossed the Limmat and we stay now at the Oberdorf and here just at the border to the Niederdorf. This area here is very famous because of the many restaurants and clubs and bars which are situated here. Luckily, in the old town of Zurich, there is still space for typical and long-established shops. Here you see a bay window. We say that we thank them to the curious women, because in the 17th, 18th century, the women, they weren't allowed to go out without their husbands. But with such a bay window, they had everything under control. But of course, the women, they were also happy because the daylight fell better into the apartments. Now we stand in front of the Grossmünster. Grossmünster is the official landmark of the city. It's the church with the 2 towers. And in here, Huldrych Zwingli started the Reformation a bit more than 500 years ago. In the 16th century, Huldrych Zwingli changed the city of Zurich completely. Some people even say that his ghost is still alive. Historically seen, the city of Zurich is therefore Protestant. But however, meanwhile, more Catholics live in the city. On the Münsterbrücke, we are crossing again the Limmat and are walking towards the square Münsterhof. Behind you see a part of a guild house. A guild is a society of craftsmen. They were founded in the 14th century, and during 450 years they had a lot of power, especially in respect of politics, economy and social life. Nowadays they still exist, but officially they don't have any power anymore. At the Münsterhof there is also the church Frau Münster located. Frau Münster has a long tradition. It goes back to the 9th century. In those days, it was founded as a noble convent. King Ludwig the German, he opened here a noble convent. The abbess of the convent, she was even the most important and the most powerful person of the city. She had the right to mint coins, the right of markets, as well as the right of customs. Inside of the Frau Münster, you can nowadays admire the beautiful stained glass windows made by Marc Chagall. We stay here at Paradeplatz. Paradeplatz is the financial center of Switzerland, and you see also a part of the Bahnhofstrasse. Bahnhofstrasse is a very famous, quite luxury shopping street. Walking along the shopping street, we are slowly reaching the lake area. At Bürkliplatz, there is the landing place of the public cruise boats. Meanwhile, we have arrived at the Lake of Zurich. It's the end of the Lake of Zurich, and at the same time it's also the end of our tour. I thank you very much for your attention, and I hope to see you soon here in Zurich. We are looking forward to welcoming you to a tour of Zurich City Tours. See you then! Ich kann mir auch nicht abstellen. Ich kann mir auch gerade abstellen. Nein! Sie kommen mal auf Zürich. Nach Zürich. Auf eine Führung. Nein, sorry. 19th century. Nein, stimmt nicht. Sorry, alles nochmal fertig.